Good day, my people. Welcome to today's video, which is learning Python with data science day 9. Okay, in today's video, which is date and time, I'll be able to dive deeper into the concept on how date and time is related to Python, because the whole field of data analytics and data science, date and time must occur, right? So this video is not going to be a lengthy one. It's just a small part of Python. We'll talk about it, and that will be it. So we all know the first thing we're going to do whenever we come to our Jupyter, which is renaming our file, day 9. A date time is a module. Actually, you have to import it as a module, you understand? So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say import date, import date time. If I come in it, I want to see everything that is inside of this directory. And in our last video, we created a modules and different type of modules. There's the same thing with this particular one. I said your modules, they are codes written inside of a Python file. So this data type is the same way, right? So I'll say print, then inside of it, I'll give it directory. Inside of the directory, I'll put date time, then come outside, we run it. So we can see everything that is found inside of this data. We can say we have date time, we have time delta, time zone, all the files that are found inside of this date time. The first thing we're going to do is to see the format that we can write our date. What format do we write our date in Python? You understand? The same way you don't just write your normal words in Python environment, the same way you can just write your date in Python environment. We're going to create a variable. Let's call it date1, and in front of the date1, I'm going to use something known as date time dot date. So inside of the date, now I'm basically saying I want to write the date. So you start your date with the year, which is 2024, followed by the month, which is the 10th, followed by the day, which is 31st of October. So I say date 1 and I run it. You can see we have date time dot what date. That means is in what, in a date format. Can you see that? So this is the correct date that your Python recognizes. So I can say I want to know the year, I want to know the month, and I also want to know the day. You understand? Print date 1 dot year. So in here we have a bracket. So if you run all this, you can see it brings out the year, which is 2024, the month, which is the 10th, the day, which is 31, and the third one, which is what, the week. There's so many other things we can also do. Okay, so let's go straight to the time delta. The time delta is just used to calculate the difference between years and also the days ahead, you know, stuff like that we have at this time. So let's say I want to know 30 days from now, what is the specific date? I can use time delta to basically find out the specific date, right? So now let's see how we implement the time delta. So I will say date 2, we should have date time dot date, and in this date I can put any day. So I can say 2023, then let's still use the same month, 10th, let's say 23, right? If you print out date 2 and you run it, you can see we have the date time dot date with the month, the year, and everything inside. Now I want to use the time delta to check how many days interval did we have from date 1 to date 2. So I'll say date 1 minus date 2. If you run it, you will see days interval that we have is 374. Let's say we want to find days ahead from now, you know, like we want to go into the future. So we're going to use the time delta to see or presume the dates. Say 100 days, 200 days from now, I want to be able to know the date. How can I be able to do that using time delta? So let's do that quickly. So we're going to use the current date, which is date 1 plus date time dot time delta. So in there you add the dates. So what days do I want to see from now? So I want to see, let's say 200 days from now. Let me see the exact dates, right? So if I run it, I can see there's going to be 2025 May 19. Can you see that? So 200 days from now is going to be 2025 May 19. So you can see how I'll venture into the future. Remember, this other one just calculate the days interval between date 1 and date 2. So what if I want to check the past? All I just have to do is copy this one and paste it, then change this one to minus. If you change this one to minus, that means you want to be able to see the last 200 days, right? The exact date. So if you run it, so it was 2024 April 14. So that is how the time delta works. That's why in some of the pictures you can basically see photos that were taken a year ago, a month ago, 2 years ago, stuff like that. Is the help of time delta that is implemented in the code, right? So one more thing I'm going to show you is how does this particular date time know today's date. Is easy. So if I want to get the current date, which is today, current underscore date, which is equals to date time dot date dot to, let's call the current date itself. So current date, run it. You can see the current date for today is 2024 October 31st, right? So how do I find out the current time as well? All I just have to do is say current time, which is going to be what? Date time dot date time dot now into bracket dot time, like this. So we come down here and we'll say the current, this is the hour, then this is the minute, then this is the second, then this is the microsecond, right? At the moment I run this code, anytime I run this code, it gives me an updated time. So if I run it again, you can see it's now 10:16. So that is how the date and time works. So the exercise is write a program to calculate how many weeks and days a user has until his or her appointment from the current date. So we're going to write a program that will calculate how many weeks and days a user has until his or her appointment from this current date. So give them the specific weeks and the days they have to prepare before the appointment or before the date. The first thing we're going to say is what the user date. So the user date is going to be an input function. We're going to give it a format that will basically want the user to see, right? So we'll say year by year / month by month / day by day, right? We have the input function. What is the next thing? This input function, the user can just write a date, right? But is not yet in a date time format that the computer understands. For you to be able to look for the current date, for you to minus it from the current date, you have to be able to know that this thing is in date time format. We're going to write a date time format here. I will convert this string to a date time format, right? Which is known as the strip time. So I'll come here and say strip time. So if we come beneath the strip time, let's give it a name. So let's say convert. So in the conversion, we'll call it the date time dot date time dot strip time. Then inside of it, we'll give the particular variable that holds the input function, because this is what you're converting, right? So in there, we're going to call the user date. The strip time is just what? Converting string to the date time. So now I have to give the format that the user is going to enter so that the computer will be aware. So if I started with month, I have to give month. If I started with day, stuff like that. So you have to basically specify the way the user is going to enter the appointment date. You write it with the percentage y, capital Y, / because I added / percentage m, so lowercase m, / then percentage d. Can you see that? So in front of everything we say what? Dot date. So it's going to convert the appointment date to what? To date time that the computer would understand, right? So we've done the first step, which is the conversion of the input function to a date time format. So we're going to go to the next guy, which is looking for the current date. Current date. So under the current date, so in front of it, I will do the same thing I did in the last one, which is date time dot date dot today. So we'll write what? Date time dot date dot today, which is going to give us what? The current date at which the user is going to be able to do this stuff. So underneath the next line, we've looked for the current date. So the next line is going to be what? Okay, so we'll come here and say df, so difference. So we're going to use the convert. That is the date time that the computer understands, and you're going against what the computer understands, right? So we'll say the convert minus current date and the days required, right? We already have the difference. The next thing now is now to calculate the weeks. So the weeks will have the DEF, which is the difference dot days. We want it to be in a floor division, which is divided by what? 7. Then we want you to now come for days. So in days, we want you to have the difference dot days remainder 7. We want you to only give remainder of what? 7. You understand? It should not be more than 7 days, right? So we just basically say da dot remainder what? 7. This one will bring the days, while this other one will what? Bring the weeks. So we're almost done with this particular one now. So now we're not going to print the message. So underneath here, we're going to say print. In the print, we're going to have format. Then in there, we'll say dear user, you have, like this. Inside of this curly brackets, you have, then you say and, please let's add this weeks here as well, because that one is just a variable. And in there, we add the days. In front of it, you say days until your appointment. We're not going to run this particular program, so we're going to say 2025/02/05. We're going to now hit enter. If you hit enter, we have dear user, you have 13 weeks and 6 days until your appointment. The user has 13 weeks and 6 days for him or her to prepare for their appointment. So you can see how we just basically use only the date time to solve this particular question. So this is where we're going to stop for this video in the date and time series. So if you know that you gain insight from this particular date and time, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, welcome to Blue Ghost Insights. And I'm so excited for you to see the things that we're going to be doing here as well. Okay, so that will be all for this segment. Make sure you stay safe and you stay profitable.